Black Flag Activity Report, Russo, Missy. Guys, there's going to be a little bit of graphic content in this one. Nothing too bad. Missy had been out of bond out of Phoenix, Arizona. Her original charges were drug related. We got the call to go pick her up because she hadn't been checking in with her bondsman. Her mom told us that Missy had been living with her boyfriend, who had a history of abuse, and that the couple were living out of his truck, staying in public parks at night. Her mom had been concerned for Missy because her boyfriend and her were on fentanyl, and as almost always is the case, were not able to stop on their own. Her mom also told me that Missy's boyfriend had pimped her out before in order to get money. Clearly, this was not an ideal situation for Missy. Missy's mom also told us that Missy's father, who was a Russian national, had not been present in her life. She detailed her sorrow for her daughter and regrets that she personally had about not being able to fill the hole in Missy's heart that had been left by not having a father figure around. Interestingly enough, when we did pick Missy up, she had nothing but amazing things to say about her father, the man she didn't know and who was absent from her life. This is often the case with people who have a lot of pain. They mask it with glorifying stories of those people. The very person who caused them so much grief is often portrayed as saints to others in an attempt to bandage the pain that they feel. Unfortunately for Missy, not checking in and using fentanyl was a direct breach of her contract with the bondsman. So these two factors were going to get her put back in jail. We got called from Missy's mom telling us that Missy was going to be at her mom's house in about an hour to pick up some clean clothes and that it would be a good time to pick her up. Missy's mom also told us that she did not trust Missy or her boyfriend to be at the house because the couple had stolen things from her multiple times. We geared up and headed over to her house. When we arrived, the truck was sitting outside and we knew that Missy and her boyfriend had arrived at the house and were most likely inside. I dropped my partner off in the back alley to keep an eye on the back door of the house. The plan was that I was going to approach the front door and try to communicate the situation to Missy in a civil and calm manner and then take her into custody. Things don't always go as planned. One of our biggest concerns was the boyfriend was with her, but in my experience, abusive boyfriends are typically made of paper and fold pretty quickly. Oftentimes, the ones getting abused tend to be tougher than the abuser. Yeah. Missy's boyfriend was named Diego, and he drove a blue Ford truck. During the entire ordeal with Missy, Diego did not come outside once to check on her, advocate for her, or see how she was. This will come into play a little bit later, but Diego was a piece of shit. Like a literal human piece of garbage. I approached the front screen door and could not see inside. The door was one that's typically used in Phoenix and is a piece of sheet metal with pinholes punched into it. The design allows for the people inside to see outside and not the other way around. Once I got to the door, my radio went off and it was my partner yelling to me saying, she's running, bro. I tried the screen door and it was locked. I ran to the side of the house. It was on the side of the street. It was a corner lot, and on the east side of the house was a street that went north and south. Knowing my partner had the alleyway covered, I instinctually went to the side of the house that made more sense for her to run to. When I got to the side of the house, I saw her jumping over the wall. Missy looked back at me and beelined it across the street, almost getting hit by a passing car. She made it to a house and was trying to jump over the wall when I caught up with her. Missy had gotten to the top of the block wall and was just about to be over it. I grabbed her by the waist and pulled her to the ground. Being that there was a very distinct size difference between myself and her, when I pulled her to the ground, she ended up there a little bit quicker than I would have liked. Missy hit the ground with a thump and was out cold. The fall had knocked her unconscious. I nudged her a couple times and radioed my partner and saying, she's out, bro. I think I heard her. We called the paramedics and she was back up and responsive by the time they got there. Missy's mom came over and was talking to her, and we told her now would be a good time to get anything out of her pockets that she didn't want to get caught with. Male agents and officers are not allowed to search female prisoners, just FYI. Missy took out a pack of cigarettes that had some fentanyl pills in it, some tinfoil, and handed it to her mom. Her mom took it, and Missy said to not give it to her boyfriend. Missy had a black t-shirt stuffed in the front of her pants, and the tail end of it was hanging out. Missy's mom asked why she had a t-shirt stuck in her pants, pulled it out, and handed it to me. Missy lowered her head and replied, it's my tampon. I didn't have gloves on and wished that I had. I was now holding a crusty, crumpled shirt with Tupac on it that I could smell. I almost threw up. Missy's mom looked just as surprised as me, and I dropped the shirt on the ground, went to my truck, and scrubbed my arms with hand sanitizer, trying not to gag. I didn't want to embarrass Missy any more than she had already been, but God, I was disgusted. The paramedic showed up and took Missy to the ER to get her head checked out. We sat at the ER with Missy for the next 2 hours and we chatted. She told me about her father, who had apparently been the Russian equivalent of a Navy SEAL. She said when he had gotten to America, he had worked for the CIA before ending up in prison for murdering someone during an undercover operation. I'm not sure if any of that was true, aside from him being in prison for murder, but the conversations we had were colorful to say the least. I found myself fond of her and enjoyed our time talking. I shared my experiences of growing up without a father figure around and how it affected me as a youth and adult. I told her I hoped she got clean and genuinely told her I liked her and cared about her. I don't think many guys had done that for her because she started crying. I held her hand for a minute and told her she was going to be all right. Missy got cleared from the hospital and we took her to jail. A couple months later, I read in the news that a young woman had been killed by her boyfriend. Her name was Missy. She had gotten into a fight with him and tried to get out of his truck while it was moving through a parking lot. She had fallen out and the truck had run over her head. The truck was owned by a guy named Diego. No charges were pressed against Diego, and as far as I know, he's still out and about living his life. Missy was a bright person, a spitfire, and had potential to be so much more in life. It's a tragedy what happened to her, and I couldn't help but wonder who she could have been if she had other opportunities afforded to her or made better choices. If Diego hears this story, I hope you know how much of a piece of shit I think you are. I truly despise you and look forward to the day that retribution shows up knocking, because it always does. Be good to each other, care for the ones around you. We are all struggling in life regardless of what that looks like. And thank you for watching.
These stories are real-life accounts of real people. It's never our intention to promote violence. We are professionals and act as such in the field. We do actually care about the people we pick up and treat them with respect. The names of all people involved have been changed in order to keep their identity from the public and safeguard their privacy. Oftentimes, we are picking people up at their own family's request to either keep that family safe from that individual or to secure their collateral from being seized by the courts or the bondsman, things like homes and vehicles. Once again, we do not promote violence of any kind, and we do believe our world would benefit from more love being in it. So be respectful and always do your best to care for others. Thank you for watching.